Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to One With You, the PLDT Enterprise Virtual Forum for Public Sector and Retail Industry featuring Smart Tracker. This is Shira Mador from PLDT Enterprise, and it is my honor to be your host for this afternoon. To all those who joined this afternoon, we truly appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Just stay tuned as we will be raffling off exciting prizes towards the end of the session. This afternoon, amidst this pandemic, we will get to hear key learnings from our roster speaker as well as share best practices on how we can cope up with the new normal. And most importantly, this session aims to highlight the role of technology as we enter the future of work, as well as how we navigate through our daily lives. If you have any questions and suggestions, feel free to key them in through the chat box and we will address them later during the Q&A segment. Before we begin, here's a quick rundown of our reminders. For uninterrupted viewing experience, make sure you have a stable internet connection. Feel free to use any device to view the virtual event. For better appreciation, turn up your volume or use your microphones. Please switch off your camera and mute your microphone during the session. And now, to officially start the program, let's all welcome on screen Ms. Joy Hilao, AVP and Corporate Relationship Management Head, PLDT Enterprise.
On behalf of PLDT Enterprise, I'd like to welcome you all this afternoon to our virtual learning series on Smart Tracker. During this pandemic, we have to rethink the status quo and find novel ways of doing things. Because of the social distancing measure put in place, we have had to turn to technology to continue on with our daily lives. Our chairman and CEO, Mr. Manuel B. Pangilinan, often says that technology is an equalizer of opportunity. And this adage could not be any truer than it is today. Technology is what has allowed us to continue with life, to keep safe and stay connected. With this, I'm very excited to have you all on this afternoon as our partners from Vectras share how Smart Tracker can enable your organization during this time. When the ECQ began, we partnered with the DOTR to deploy our Smart Tracker to their fleets so that health workers and frontliners could easily wait for and anticipate these shuttle buses. This small but significant move made a big difference in the lives of our frontliners, our everyday heroes. It is my sincere hope that this afternoon session will likewise enable you with the knowledge to reinvent your practices so that you may better serve the Filipino people. I assure you that that we at PLDT are one with you in this endeavor. Again, thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. For the participants, I would just like to remind to please switch off your camera and mute your microphone during the session. So for the next part of the program, to share with us some insight about Smart Tracker, our next presenter is a graduate of Ateneo de Manila University with a bachelor's degree in computer science. He worked as a programmer at UNICEF HQ in New York for 3 years and came back to the Philippines to become an entrepreneur and manage their family business. He is also the co-founder of GPS tracking and wireless router distribution and medical transcription company and is now the president and CEO of Vectras Inc. for almost a decade. Let us welcome all on the screen, Jonas Figueroa.
Thank you for welcoming me here today. Well, let's get right to it. I'm here right now to present to you the Smart Tracker. So let me just turn on our slides. Okay, so first thing I'd like to mention is about our company. Our company is called Vectras Incorporated, and we are very much focused on the machine-to-machine space, which is regarding GPS tracking and 4G LTE wireless routers. The company was formed in 2011 by myself, although my experience with wireless routers began in 2006 and GPS tracking started in 2008. We have been a recognized partner of the PLDT Group since 2016 for the Smart Tracker and Smart Biz LTE product lines. A requirement as a partner of PLDT is for nationwide deployment capability, which we do provide. And we have well over 10,000 GPS tracker units in active use throughout Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Now, just to give a very brief introduction for GPS tracking. GPS tracking is a system of monitoring location of an asset, such as a vehicle, equipment, or person, by attaching a GPS tracking device to it. This requires installation of a GPS tracking device in a vehicle or equipment, or perhaps a personal tracking device if for a person. And these tracking devices will send location data to a server with a monitoring system so that the location may be seen graphically on a map by any user. Now, GPS tracking is very much in use in very different industries, very different fields. We have it in bus transport, fleet vehicles, transportation, logistics and motorized deliveries, truck deliveries, emergency vehicles, so what have you. GPS tracking is very much widely used now. Now, I'll just show you very quickly, based on what I had mentioned earlier about GPS tracking, the movement of data regarding GPS tracking location over the smart network. So we have here a vehicle. This can be a truck, a car, a motorcycle, even a person who will have a GPS tracking device. The GPS tracking device automatically sends data, location data, through the smart network to our servers. And then the users are able now to see on our system, we call the W-Track system, where a tracked vehicle is. So this is where the internet comes in for viewing GPS tracked devices. Now let me go very quickly over the solution features, typical features of track. So we have real-time tracking. This is a typical feature for GPS tracking. This is very much important for any GPS tracking solution. So real-time tracking means that we have access to a convenient and intuitive web browser-based or smartphone app system anytime. So this means that you should be able to see your tracked assets anytime. That's what we mean by real time. And then for notifications, notifications are for alarms such as, for example, speeding, idling, SOS button press, certain notifications, so that it gives you an idea of the status, urgent status of any tracked asset. Now, another very important usual feature for GPS tracking system is its geofence. The geofence can be used to determine arrival or departure from specific areas. That means you should be able to draw an area, enclose an area, save it in the system so that we can see the entry and exit of any tracked asset. We have different kinds of assets here, different kinds of geofences. You have circle, polygon, and line. Next, very important also is a report. Report is where we can generate historical records of past movements, parkings, idlings, geofence entries or exits, SOS button press. This is so we can take a look at the past movements, past actions of our tracked assets. And another very typical feature is what we call the track replay. The track replay is the one that needs to be, that can be used to see where a vehicle has moved on a map. So this is where you can actually see what streets the vehicle passed, where the person stopped, or where the vehicle stopped. So this is very, very useful. Now, in terms of the benefits of GPS tracking, I'd like to talk very briefly about the benefits here. First, of course, is about reducing fuel and maintenance costs. Now, this is very much something that has a very direct bearing using GPS tracking, because effective monitoring usually leads to less idling or speeding and also to better driving habits. So that will normally mean that you don't have to use as much fuel and that your maintenance will go down. Another benefit is for more efficient use of resources. By knowing the locations of the vehicles, you can have an optimal assignment of them, or assign vehicles for use that are less utilized than the rest of the fleet. And then another one is we have improved customer service. Now, this is important because you are able to apprise a client of their delivery's location in real time. So that gives the customer very much up-to-date information on any deliveries that are going to them. And then we have increased visibility on deliveries. Now, with the GPS tracking, you know in real time the status of deliveries and are able to provide historical data as to when a delivery was made in cases of dispute or for efficiency tracking or efficiency checking. And last but not least, we have increased employee safety and cargo and asset security. With the use of, say, the SOS button, enforcement of safe driving practices, and you can also have instant accurate location in an emergency. This really helps in terms of employee safety and security for cargo and assets. Now, let me discuss very briefly about the hardware components that are under the Smart Tracker. The very first one that we have here is the model AT300. This is a wired 4G LTE GPS tracker device with internal battery. When I mean wired, this means this has to be connected manually to the wiring of the vehicle. So we have standard components of the GSM antenna, GPS antenna, as well as the panic or SOS button. Optional accessories are the relay for ignition disable. This is for if you want to be able to command remotely an ignition disable for a vehicle. You have the mic speaker, so you can have a two-way communication with the driver or the occupants of the vehicle. Temperature sensor for reefer vans to know the temperature inside the van. You have a door open or close sensor. This is normally used for delivery van doors, opening or closing, or say discharge valve box of a petroleum delivery truck. And then we also have a rod type fuel level sensor, which is very important for fuel level monitoring. So we can use this to say have fuel consumption information. And other features included here are harsh braking detection, harsh acceleration detection, and onboard memory to store unsent data. This is important because if you say you're in an area where you don't have any signal, then the device can store any location data that is supposed to be sent and send it later on once there is signal available. Okay. And just to note for you, the optional accessories here are purchased on top of the monthly plan package. So these are not standard, as not all clients will need them. And just to also add, this model is normally used in heavy-duty vehicles, normally for trucks, delivery vans, that sort of thing, dump trucks. That's the model. This is the model normally used for those vehicles. Okay, the next model we have is the T380. This is a plug-and-play. This is a plug-and-play device. What do you mean by plug-and-play? Normally, this is plugged into what we call the OBD connector. This is found under the dashboard of vehicles. So normally, you just plug it in, and it will get power from the vehicle and start sending data. Now, you have to note that this type of GPS tracker is normally used only for passenger vehicles, such as sedans, SUVs, pickups, cars. These are not normally used for heavy-duty vehicles like trucks. We also need to have, I need to mention that this also does provide harsh braking detection, harsh acceleration detection, and also it also has onboard memory to store unsent data. Note that this has an internal backup battery, so if you do remove it from the OBD port, it can still send data for a short period of time, and it can send an alert that it has been removed from your vehicle. This other model that we have is normally used for public transport. This is the V02, so it has LTFRB approval, and it's normally used for the PUVs, modern PUVs, taxis, UV Express, and this is normally what it comes with standard, the external GSM antenna, external GPS antenna, and the LED light for visual alert about speeding, which is one of the requirements that LTFRB has. Okay, and then the next one is normally used for tracking personnel. What I mean by that is we normally install this app, the YATAG app, on a smartphone. So this can be installed on an Android or iOS device and turns that device into a tracking device. So you have here a type of implementation that you don't need to install anything extra. So if you have motorized or motorcycle born drivers, you don't need to install on the motorcycle itself, but rather on the phone of the motorcycle driver. So this, since most people already have smartphones, this makes it quite easy now to implement GPS tracking using just smartphone. Okay, now I mentioned earlier about typical features, basic features of GPS tracking monitoring system. And I'd like to speak now a little bit about the more advanced features that we feel are quite distinct or distinguishing about what we have. So again, it's called the W-Track system. And I cannot talk about the W-Track system without first talking about our technology partner called Gertam. Gertam is our technology partner established in Minsk, Belarus in 2002. They are the ones behind the design and maintenance of the WIALON global platform, which is known as W-Track in the Philippines. The WIALON or W-Track platform is an enterprise-grade cloud-based system handling over 2.4 million devices worldwide in over 130 countries. The platform is spread out over 350 servers in 3 data centers in Europe and the USA. And besides being able to handle millions of data for millions of devices every few seconds, the system also handles tens of thousands of users logged in simultaneously. So besides their headquarters in Minsk, our partner Gertam has offices in Moscow, Boston, Dubai, and Buenos Aires. So it's important to stress here the scale of the system. So it's important here for me to mention this so that you have an idea about how large and how advanced the monitoring system we are using is. So going back to the advanced features I mentioned earlier about reports, which are quite standard in GPS tracking systems. But I did want to mention here that the reports we have are not just canned reports. You actually have a way to create your own reports depending on your operational needs. I will be doing a short demo of the system after my deck, after my slides, so you'll have an idea of what I mean. But the nice thing about this is, again, you have some flexibility in terms of what reports you want to see and what data you want to see for the reports. And similarly with the notifications or what we call alert notifications, you can also create your own notifications based on your own operational needs. Again, I can show that in a bit, how easy it is to create notifications on the system. And then next up, we have jobs. Jobs are normally used to create and automate tasks such as auto generation and emailing of reports, daily, weekly, monthly. So what we're basically saying here is you do not need to log into the system every time to get your reports. You can set a schedule for when a particular report will be sent, and you can find it in your inbox based on the schedule you have set. Next, I want to mention a very important feature here we call fuel monitoring. In terms of fuel monitoring, if we are to use the rod type fuel level sensor I had mentioned earlier and install it in a vehicle, usually in a truck or in a bus, you can now monitor in real time the level of fuel inside a tank. And with that data, we can come up with reports that can show you, for example, how much has been consumed for a particular trip, for the number of hours that a truck or vehicle has its engine on, how much was consumed in terms of fuel. In terms of movement, like here in this trips report, you can see like for a mileage of a certain mileage, you can see how many liters were consumed in terms of fuel. So it becomes a very powerful tool for monitoring your fuel level. You'll see here in this graph the steady decline in the fuel level until a sudden increase because of a fuel filling, and then a decline again as the vehicle moves. So it's very useful. We have another feature, a very advanced feature that we like to also mention to customers. We call the locator link. The locator feature allows you to generate a URL link that you can share with customers or clients. They can see where the vehicle or vehicles assigned to them are currently situated, and they do not have to log into WTrack. I will do a demo of this as well, but as you can see here, you have you're creating a link, selecting a vehicle, and then once it's generated, you have the link here which you can copy. And once you type that link into any browser, a map will open up, like here in this example here. You can see on the left side, I have here what it would look like on my laptop or in a tablet, whereas on the right side, you can see here what it would look like on a smartphone. So you can, it doesn't matter where you're looking at it, as long as you have a web browser available. I will also share with you later on an existing locator link in the chat box so that you can open it, and then you can take a look and see what it looks like on your own phone or on your own laptop. Next is the smartphone app. I'd like to mention here that we're not just talking about using a browser, using rather a laptop or even a tablet, but you can use the smartphone app of WTrack to monitor your vehicles. As you can see here, we have the screen on the left side. You have a list here of vehicles that are being monitored. You can select any of them. On this side here, we've selected the top one. And then you can see the history of this vehicle for today, or for a certain day. You can see here the parking, the movements, next parking, next movement, that sort of thing. So you can see at a glance what the vehicle has been doing for the day. And you can go back by selecting a previous date. And then you can also do historical track here on the smartphone app. In this case, we selected 7:24 a.m. And once you tap that, you can now see for that movement of 49 minutes, you can see on a map the movement of the vehicle. So that's what we call historical track. And then next, we also have historical parking, which means you can tap any parking that you see on the history. When you tap it, the map will focus on where the vehicle had parked for that time. So in this case, for an hour and a half, it parked in this area. And also you can take a look at the sensors. In this case, for this vehicle, we have GPS battery level, power supply, and engine. So you can know if the engine is on or off. You can know what the power supply of the vehicle is and what the backup battery of the GPS has. And lastly, you can do reports. With these reports, you can generate the reports not just on your phone, not just on your laptop, but also on your phone using the app. So that's a very useful feature as well. So the reports that you see on your web browser in your laptop, you can also generate those reports in the smartphone. For those who may need it, there are customers sometimes who require that they be able to implement or integration of data from our system with their existing system, or if they have very custom needs for the data. With that, we do offer access to the API, or application program interface, which means you can develop software, develop a program, and use the API to pull data from the WTrack system to integrate with your own system, such as SAP, such as HR systems. So we do provide that along with your subscription. We very quickly, I'll just mention some industry-focused modules here. We do have extra modules that are actually included in the subscription to the Smart Tracker. We have the logistics module, which is basically a dispatching and tracking system aimed at more of delivery type of operations. We have Nimbus, which is a tracking solution for bus operators or for fixed route public transport operators. We have Hectera, which is for agribusiness, operations. We can do here tracking tractors as well as managing the crops. And then for fleet run, we have a fleet maintenance control solution. This helps in terms of monitoring maintenance for vehicle service status, repairs, costings for such. I'll show you later on very quickly the logistics and fleet run modules for your reference. Just to talk very quickly about fleet run, for example, fleet run, this shows here your dashboard. The dashboard shows here what units are in service, how many intervals have been set, intervals meaning 5,000 kilometer servicing, 10,000 kilometer change oil, that sort of thing. So the nice thing about fleet run is it helps you with preventive maintenance. So you don't have to wait for a breakdown for you to do repairs. So preventive maintenance is very important for a fleet, especially for very big fleets. For repairs, this will help you know exactly what repairs are in progress, what's being done on your vehicles in your fleet. And other work such as car wash, routine inspection, maybe other things like registration or insurance renewals. Those are things that you can keep track of. And the nice thing about fleet run is in terms of changing the way you do business or your operations, it keeps you informed with notifications that will update you on upcoming works and work progress. It helps you to come up with a complex approach to maintenance so that all types of work, spare parts, expenditures, you can actually see in one application. You don't need to keep on going back to Excel or other paperwork. And then this automates your processes because you can now have an automatic way of telling you what you need to do for a particular vehicle or vehicles. And of course, this saves in the history, so you can go back and review the service history of your vehicles. Logistics, very quickly, I think this might be very interesting for a lot of you. This is an order management and delivery processing. Besides GPS tracking for certain industries, you also want to be able to keep track of deliveries because having a GPS tracking system, it will just tell you where a vehicle is. But what about what you assign them to do? So in this case, what we have with the logistics module is you have a way to add your orders or deliveries. Then you distribute your orders to vehicles for delivery, you monitor the delivery, and then you generate the reports. So in this scene, in this screen, you can see here that there's a route that's being shown, a route for green car, and it's being shown where it's supposed to go. And then you're actually able to see on the screen the status of the orders. What's happening? Has it been completed? Has it been rejected? That sort of thing. Now, to give you an example, I will give you an example later on about using this to a very quick entry of orders, so you can see how it's used. Now, besides the web browser-based entry for logistics module, we also have a logistics mobile app. This one is for the driver. So the driver has this app installed in his phone, and any assignments that are provided by the head office will show in that person's phone. So if we had entered, for example, these orders in this screen here, then the driver will see this, and he can see on his phone the routes that have to be followed in terms of the deliveries. And then the driver can also do a confirmation or rejection of a delivery on the phone. And to have evidence of deliveries, you can have here, for example, a picture of the delivery or the person, or you can have a signature even. A person can sign on the smartphone of the driver. And I will show you later examples of pictures in the system for this. We also have what we call Nimbus. This is for fixed route or public transport tracking. This is very useful for vehicles such as shuttle buses or public transport that have fixed routes. So you have something like this where you have stops and you can see and share with passengers so they can see where buses are at. This is actually very much what we did for the DOTR project, where the frontline health workers can see on a map where their vehicles are, the ones that they want to ride. Okay, now I'm finished with the deck. So what I'll next show you very quickly is actual data, the actual live demo of the W-Track system. So let me just share with you the screen. Okay, so here I am now in the W-Track screen. I hope everybody can see this. I'm logged in, and we can see here on this screen called the monitoring tab. The monitoring tab shows me here all of the vehicles that I'm monitoring, and I have a check mark here on the left side, which means I want to see all of them on the map. So I can see here everyone on the map. As you can see, we have some Luzon, Visayas, we have Mindanao vehicles showing here. You have here on this side the information about the vehicle, plate number or whatever identifying information we're using. When you highlight a vehicle, you can see there where roughly the address where it is. You can see if the engine is on or off, power supply. You can even see the driver assigned to that. So when you generate reports, you will know who was driving at a certain time or a certain day. So that's for the list of vehicles. You have here on this side, you have here the icons showing the status of the vehicle. In this case, we have here one vehicle that is stationary, but engine is on. And here at the bottom, you see here two vehicles whose whose status is moving and the engine is on as well. So that gives you a brief, very quick idea who's moving and who's not. And then these other icons here will show you about the connection in terms of satellites being read for GPS. If it's online, meaning is the GPS device connected to the system. When you highlight here, you will see how it's showing 10 seconds, 12 seconds. This means that the data was received. How long ago data was received in the system. So you will see that this will change, especially if it's moving. As you can see, it's become 8 seconds now. So that's because the vehicle is moving, so data is being sent very quickly to the system. So we can do zoom in and zoom out here. So yeah, you can zoom in and zoom out to take a look at where a vehicle is in more detail. So I'm showing you that here. Okay. Now, very quick note about the menu items here. Here at the top, we're right now the monitoring tab, but you can see here there are other tabs that I will show you. So the next one I wanted to show you was the notifications tab. This is where you can create, I mentioned earlier about notifications. So if we were to make a new notification, you click new. A notification can be anything about, for example, like this one is about an external power off. So this one is, that way I will know, or we can know which vehicles have had external power to the GPS device removed. So that becomes very useful. You see here the notifications. This is where you will see any unread notifications. So if you have a pop-up notification like here, these are the pop-ups that come out when a notification happens. And you can take a look at what it says. For example, here, geofence exit. So this vehicle exited a geofence at a certain time. And so you can see that in real time here on the system. That's for notifications. I wanted to show you our geofences. I mentioned earlier about geofences. So we have a lot of geofences here now that have been created. Let me zoom in on one. So here we have all the PLDT and geo building. So we created a polygon shaped geofence for this. So it's quite easy to add geofences. Let me illustrate very quickly. If you want to create a polygon geofence, we have a polygon geofence selected here. You just click, 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 whatever size you want. You can do whatever size you want. And you click save. Also, we have, besides polygon, we have line geofence. A line geofence is usually used for roads. For example, here, first width. So here you can create a line geofence very easily in the system. And then again, click save. The easiest one to create, of course, is for a circle. Because all you have to do is click on a point and make sure you have your radius. And then you can have your circle geofence. Note that you don't have to just draw, especially if you already have a record of your a record of your locations. We have customers who already have a list of their delivery sites. So all we have to do is to import via KML into the system. So let's say we did this for a client before. We had 4,000 points all over the country. He had the coordinates, the longitude and latitude, provided it to us in Excel, and we uploaded all of those points into the system, and we were able to create automatically the geofences for 4,000 plus locations. So that's for our geofence. I mentioned I would show you the reports. The reports here, this is where you can actually create a new report by clicking new. Well, you already see here that we have some canned reports. These are already existing reports in this login. But if you want to create new one, then you can just select what type of report you want, like here. So you have a lot of types of reports. You can select speeding stops, for example. You can just select which data you want to come out in the report. So it makes it very easy to create reports, customized to what you want. And then here, for example, we can do a very quick generation of report. So you can see here, I generated a trip, stops, and parking report for this vehicle for today. And you can take a look here. The data is here. Start, end. You can have here, it shows you the duration, the mileage, the speed, average speed. And you can export this to Excel or PDF. You can export it to HTML even. So there are a lot of different formats you can export this to. So that's for our reports. And then I want to show you our tracks. Our tracks is what I mentioned about being able to see on your on the map where movements were done by the vehicle. So you see here color-coded lines depending on the speed. So you can easily see where the vehicle was speeding based on what the setting. So here for red, anything above 90 is red. So you see that here. In this section, travel was faster than the other sections. So that's for our tracks. I wanted to also show you the jobs module. This is where we create the automatic schedule for generation of emails and of reports and emailing them to people. So this is an example here. We have here, we chose here the idling report template, and then we selected for the previous 1 day, and it will go to this particular email address. And then in terms of the scheduling, we said it will happen every 1 a.m. every day, and it will generate the report and send it by email. So it's quite convenient. And then we also have here the drivers. This is where you can add your drivers if you have a list of drivers. And this is where you can bind them to a vehicle. So in this case, we have this driver, Paul, bound to this vehicle. So any report that you generate that you want to see a driver, it will it can be seen, but you need to bind a driver to the vehicle like here. And then quickly, I want to show you now a couple of things. I mentioned earlier about Fleet Run. This is, I think, very useful, again, for customers who want to see their maintenance for their fleets. In this dashboard, you can see here very quick who is due for servicing, who is in progress for servicing. If you enter a peso value for the works that are done, or the services that are done, or the parts that are used, you can actually have costings for the maintenance that has been done, or the services that have been done for vehicles. This is your dashboard. The service objects, this is the vehicles that can be entered into FleetRun for maintenance and service monitoring. In terms of intervals, this is where you have, where you mention what your intervals are for certain services, like change oil every 5,000 kilometers or every 6 months, depending on what's first. The services here, these are the types of services that are supposed to be happening. Let me just close this. And then, of course, you have your reports. If you want to be able to see what has already been done in your history, so you can see here what occurred in terms of services. So that's for FleetRun. And the next thing I'd like very quickly to show is the logistics module. The logistics module, I think, again, is quite interesting in that you can enter your activities for your trucks, or your deliveries, and be able to monitor them here. So very quickly, I'll show you a, let me just delete these. And I can do new ones. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to enter a new order. So this one here is free form. You can have whatever in an order name. And then in terms of the address, instead of using an address, we want to use one of the existing geofences that are already in the system. It makes it a lot easier to search for what you want in terms of a location. So in this case, I'm selecting as a Mega Mall, save and continue. I'll make another order. And we have here, select another one and one more. The third order, so that we'll have more. And then we save. So once we've saved, we see here that these are the list. This is the list of our orders. Now what I want to do next is to distribute this to a delivery vehicle. So I select all of these, I do a next. And then I want to assign it to a vehicle with a driver, particularly because you don't have to assign it to a vehicle with a driver, but I want to do it in this case because the driver has the logistics mobile app in his phone, so he can receive the assignment on his phone. So in this case, I select this one and do a next. And then I select that and I save. So I confirm the route. Now, once I've confirmed the route, it now becomes an active route. So once it's saved in the system, it will appear here, and we can now see that it is an active route. And once the driver does his deliveries, there are going to be changes in the status of this route here. And to give you a very quick an idea of what the report will look like, we have an old one here that was already done before. So you can see that there's data that will come out here, and we have here. So this is a test one that was done previously. So this is the route that was done. And at the end here, we can see that what the status was. Was it a confirmed delivery, or rejected delivery? And we can see that there is a picture for this confirmation about where the delivery was done. This could be a person, this could be the package itself. And also we see here that there was a signature that the recipient provided for the delivery. So yeah, that was for the logistics module. I think it's time for me to turn you over to, I believe it's Joey.
Thank you, Jonas.
Thank you as well.
Okay, so thank you, Jonas, for that very comprehensive presentation and demo. So this will be very helpful for our partners on how Smart Tracker will help on securing their assets and running their business efficiently. So again, if you have any questions and suggestions, feel free to key in them through the chat box, and we will be sure to answer them as soon as possible.
Okay, so I guess I'll go ahead. So yeah, thank you so much, Sheer, and thank you so much, Jonas, for a very insightful session. So our smart trackers. So let me just check. Um, so our smart trackers are part of our machine-to-machine and IoT portfolio, which also includes M2M SIMs, communications over voice over IP or cloud PTT, digital form builders, and emergency response solutions. Now, during the time of COVID, our smart trackers have played a role supporting the government in their DOTR free ride for health workers program. With this, riders will be able to see the live location of the buses along their routes so they can be at the pickup locations at the right time. So I believe this particular link was mentioned by Jonas earlier during his session. Now we understand how each client is different, so we have three tiers available to the W-Track licenses to suit the various requirements of our clients. So the basic license fits clients that need basic tracking and monitoring. The standard license adds more features such as the locator map feature, which is the external link that helps you view the live location of your vehicle. This is the same link accessed by our health workers in the DOTR program. It also adds a fleet run module for efficient vehicle maintenance monitoring. Now, for the premium license, it gives a full range of capabilities, mostly meant for trucking and logistics, as well as bus transports, as it adds modules for those kinds of industries. Now, the next slide shows the different vehicle tracker packages according to these tiers and are based on a 24-month lock-in period, as well as a choice of a wire type or an OBD type for plug and play kind of devices. Now, this is our personnel tracker plan with a basic W-Track license and an amortized device option, as well as Samsung Knox to manage your employees' company-issued mobile devices. And because we appreciate your presence to today's event, we have prepared a special promo exclusive to all Smart Tracker webinar attendees. So for those who avail of any of our tracker packages from today up to August 31st, 2020, we are offering 1 month off of your Smart Tracker subscription. So this promo is available while stocks last. So do call your relationship manager today to find the best Smart Tracker plan for you and avail of this limited time offer. So I will turn you over again to Sheer for the next part.
Thank you, Joey. Thanks for that. So, again, to all the presenters, those were very good insights. And as we move on to the next part of the program, we would like to call on Mr. Alvin Martinez, Business Head of PLDT Enterprise, to moderate and welcome back on screen our esteemed roster of speakers for the Q&A segment. So those who's tuned in this afternoon, join us and be part of the discussion by keying in your question in the chat feature. And please stay tuned after the session, so we'll be announcing the winner of the raffle.
Thank you very much, Sheer. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much, Joey and Jonas. We have a few questions from the floor. The first one is from Miss Fe del Rosario. She's asking if there are government agencies currently using Smart Tracker. I understand you already mentioned DOTR. Are there other government agencies using this solution?
So yes, we have a few government agencies, but I think we're not also allowed to like mention that mention it right now, right? Because of privacy issues. But we do have partnered with DOTR lately, as I've mentioned earlier in my presentation, and with that, what it was part of like the health worker program nila.
Okay, thank you, Joey. I have another question from Ruel of Napocor. Since you partnered with Smart PLDT, I assume that you only use the Smart Network. We have some very remote installations with no cellular signal. Can your devices signal roam to other networks or be modified so it can be connected to a radio network with data capabilities? Maybe, Jonas, maybe this is, this is for you.
Yes, thanks, Alvin. Unfortunately, no, our devices are SIM-based. So we use a SIM inserted inside each device, and that SIM is a smart SIM. So it will only work with the smart network.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. Another question from Earl. I would like to ask if how much is the vehicle fuel monitoring? We need to track the fuel to prevent fuel theft. Is there a pricing for this one?
Okay, I think I can answer that. So we do have a pricing for that. For that particular one, I think it's around 12,000 pesos for a straight payment. But we can also do like amortized payments for that. That's for the rod. It's the rod type that we presented, correct, Jonas?
Yes, that's right. We use the rod type for the accuracy.
Okay. Another question from Tito. Can the tracker be integrated with a CCTV system in the vehicle?
Okay, that's a good question, actually, but no. We treat CCTV systems and the GPS tracker separately. Number one, because CCTV system actually uses a lot of data, so we don't normally integrate that with the GPS tracker that we're providing. So no, they are separate items.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. Another reference question. Do we have any local car rental company that's actually using this system?
Yes, I'm sorry. I think I can answer that. Okay, so yes, basically we have a car rental system, and what is applicable to them is the OBD type of GPS device. So at least, for example, you can just use kasi the that OBD type is plug and play. So that's your purpose of that device. So basically, at least kunwari, if somebody is already kunwari, you're gonna be transferring to another unit, or let's say you sold that particular car, you can still reuse it and just transfer it to another car. Maybe you can expound on that, Jonas, on the capability, other use cases for, let's say, car rentals.
Yes, usually the most important thing, especially for car rentals, is if we're talking about the car rental that is driver, someone rents a car and drives it himself, then of course you're being able to keep track of your asset that way. It's a very expensive asset. Other car rental companies make use of this for VIP pickups. So you have a company that does pickups at, say, the airport or a hotel. So they use the system to keep track of, okay, where is the VIP? Is he nearby? Okay, let's stay outside and wait for him to open the door. So, service in that sense becomes a lot heightened. Also, with the locator feature that we have, you can share the locator feature of the vehicle that is assigned to the guest. So the person can see on his phone, okay, my car is arriving. I can now step out of the air-conditioned area, air-conditioned airport or hotel or building to meet the driver. So yeah, very good, very good use case for car rental companies.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Jonas. Yeah, very interesting questions coming from our audience. Um, there's another one from Tito. Can the tracker have an automatic share link to PNP HPG for a stolen vehicle? If, for
Okay,
example, a kills child.
that's a good question. In terms of sharing a location, the only thing we can actually use is, again, we have the locator feature, which I highlighted earlier. You can generate a link very easily. We can have automatically generate a locator link in terms of emergencies if, say, the SOS button is pressed, as an example. But in terms of sharing that with the PNP, that will either have to be called into the PNP or it can be sent by email to the PNP. So it's not something that we have a direct tie with the PNP that they're awaiting our information, but it's possible to share very easily these links, locator links that we mentioned for emergency purposes.
Okay. There's another question from Earl, but I think you've covered this one regarding tracking vehicles without any signal. Um, but I guess the other question is how many hours can the device store before it actually runs out of storage?
Okay, again, that's a good question. The devices that we have do have limited storage, so they don't have unlimited storage. Now, it will depend a lot on how often our device sends data. So if we're sending data every few seconds, of course, that means it's eating up a lot more storage. But in terms of a rule of thumb, we're looking at about, for the wired GPS tracking devices, you're looking at a rule of thumb of about 4 days of storage. For the OBD, you're looking at a rule of thumb, roughly about 2 days worth of storage. So yeah, I think that's something that we can use as a reference for the storage.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. Well, this question is fairly common with most of the solutions out there. Since this is a cloud service, can we also have this on-premise?
Yes, you can have it on premise. The challenge there really is having the setup, because you're going to need your server. You're going to need your very good bandwidth, a lot of bandwidth. You're also going to need to have a lot of monitoring in terms of your server, your system. Is it up all the time? So that also has challenges to it. So yes, it is possible to have it on premise. That can be discussed in terms of commercials with Joanna and the rest of the team.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. There are several questions regarding reference customers. I believe we have NDAs with them, but once we've cleared that with our customers, we'll be more than willing to share them with those who are asking for specific industries, whether it's mining, logistics, or retail, or even government. Are there any other questions from our audience before I turn you back to share?
I'm seeing a question from Miss Fe
Okay.
regarding they want to do, I think her question was, we have 20 plus vehicles, but we want to do a pilot test for just 3 to 5 vehicles. What would be the impact on the cost of the system? So basically we can do demos for our clients. So to have a feel of the system at first. So we do like at least we can provide you a login credential. We can install a GPS device in maybe one of your vehicles, and so you can check and monitor how the system goes or if it works for you. And then we can also schedule like a demo presentation so you can understand how the whole system works as well. So you're guided. So yeah, for that, what would be the impact on the cost of the system? So basically, the demo is free, so we won't be charging you, but it's 15 days, maximum maybe 30, depending on the client and the
Thank you.
usage.
Okay, thank you, Joey. I have another very interesting question. This relates to uh, cost savings or cost efficiency. Do we have any numbers to share with our audience in terms of the cost savings that they've had in implementing this system?
That's a good question, and I'll take this question, guys. Yeah, actually, we do not have. That's actually a question that's often asked. Strangely enough, though, a lot of clients don't share hard numbers with us. They just tell us that, oh, we have seen a lot of improvement, and in particular, what they do mention is the driver behavior that has changed. So they say that they see a lot of drivers who don't speed as much or don't stay in a location that they're not supposed to be in as much. So that does show some improvement for them, especially in terms of their operations. Some of them have deliveries, say they were averaging on an average 1.3 deliveries a day. They end up bumping it up to 1.5 or 1.6 on average. So that's what they do mention to us, but no hard and fast numbers in terms of liters saved, fuel saved.
Okay, so what you're saying is that there are cost efficiency impact and also revenue increase impact.
Yes, a lot of, especially in terms of efficiency of deliveries, in terms of efficiency of usage of the vehicles. There have been a lot of, although subjective, there have been a lot of mention about that. And that's why you see people who are using the system, using it for 2, 3, 4 years and not stopping it because they find it very useful.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jonas. If there are no more questions from our audience, I'd like to turn you back for to share. Thank you very much, speakers, for those insights.
Okay, thank you, Sir Alvin, and thank you for our speakers. So I guess now we're on the most awaited part of the program. Let me also share some screen. Okay, so we will be announcing the winner of 3 Huawei Y9 mobile phones brought to you by PLDT Enterprise. So the winners are already pre-drawn from the registration list. So for the first winner, so we have Stephen John Venus from Sumifra Philippines Corporation. Congratulations. And for the next winner, we have Francisco Razo from Duty Free. And our last winner for this afternoon, it's Griselda Gementera from PNU. So again, congratulations for all our winners, and we will be calling you for more information.
Chair,
Yes.
maybe
Yes,
the winners can present themselves on the video. Mag-hi lang po.
yes, please. Can the winners open their screen and say hi?
Announce the names again.
Yes. So we have Stephen John Venus, we have Francisco Razo, and we have Criselda Gementera.
O, di ba naglalakad pa si Miss Griselda?
So June Rasos just said hi in the chat group.
Hi.
Sir June, bakit di ka magpakita?
Congratulations, Miss Griselda. She's my client.
Congrats.
Ayan na. Kompleto
Ayan
na
na.
silang tatlo.
Asa
Ayun
audio mo,
na.
Ma'am Chris?
Congratulations to the winners.
Miss
So we'll
Crisel,
get
na
in
nawala
touch
ka
with
ulit.
you.
Ma'am Chris, yung ano mo, audio mo.
Thank you.
Thank
Yun,
you po and congratulations, Sir Stephen, Sir
Oh.
June, Miss Criselda.
Thank you po. Sir Francia, thank you.
Congratulations to the winners.
Welcome.
Congratulations. Okay. So, to our esteemed roster of presenters and to our viewers who tune in this afternoon on behalf of PLDT Enterprise, thank you all for spending this wonderful afternoon with us. This was One With You, the PLDT Enterprise Virtual Forum for Public Sector and Retail Industry, featuring Smart Tracker. And this has been your host, Shir Amador. Stay safe. Stay safe, everyone.